Last night, Russia launched the second largest drone attack in the war, second of the entire war. And in the process, they hit an American factory. The American factory was not producing arms or anything like that. It was producing like watches and coffee machines and electronics for Nike. And I mean, yeah. And this is just a couple of days after the Alaska and the Washington, D.C. summit. So what exactly is going on? Well, I can tell you what's going on the ground, and I'm probably going to do a dedicated video just to the American factory, just so that you can have some more insight about it. But let's start here. Russia launched a massive overnight attack across Ukraine, striking eastern, central, and western regions. Explosions were reported in Muchakivo. If I'm stumbling over it, it's because I have never heard that name before, and you'll see why in just a moment. It's not normally on the map. Okay, Lviv, Lutsk, Dnipro, Kyiv, Zaporizhzhia, notably Muchakivo was hit for the first time since a full-scale invasion began. Well, that's because it's over here. It's on the Slovakian, almost Hungary kind of border, like way on the western corner of Ukraine. That's where the American factory was. Okay. Zelensky said this last night. The Russian army set one of its insane anti-records. They targeted civilian infrastructure facilities, residential buildings, and our people. Several cruise missiles were lobbied against American-owned enterprise in Zakarpattia. That's the oblast. It was a regular civilian business supported by American investment, producing everyday items like coffee machines. And yet, it was also a target for the Russians. This is very telling. The fire at the facility is still being extinguished. As of now, 15 people have been reported injured in the strike. All have received the necessary assistance. Overnight, 574 strike drones, 40 missiles were launched against Ukraine, and the damage was pretty significant. This is a map of where all the drones and missiles came from. If you look, you'll see the drones are mostly in yellow and the missiles are in red, mostly from like Crimea and such, primarily being launched from the occupied areas in Kherson, for example. Okay, what do we see here? 546 out of 574 Shahed shot down. That's not bad. That's a pretty good record. 1 out of 4 KH-47M2 Kinzhal aeroballistic missiles. Those are harder to shoot down. 0 out of 2 ballistic missiles. 18 out of 19 KH-101s, 12 out of 14 Caliber cruise missiles, and 1 unknown type of missile was not hit. Okay. So that's where they were last night. Now, if we look at this, I said it's the second highest of the war. Here's a ranked list of the single night, overnight attacks on Ukraine. I want you to see 614 is the second highest, but I also want you to see this. If you look back and you look at the dates, you see that the highest was in July. Second highest was now on August 21st. The third highest was July. The fourth highest was June. The fifth highest was July. The sixth and seventh highest were in May of this year, all of this year. Then you get to number 8. The 8th highest was back in 2024. And then you get back to 9, and that's back in, it's also in August of 2025. I mean, it's just amazing. And remember, this was just the 19th. Now, on the 19th, we had 280. Now, that I'm going to show you what I talked about with Johnny the other day, and just to put this in perspective. Okay, the presence of American businesses in Ukraine cannot be seen as a kind of security guarantee. Russians target them just as bluntly as they target Ukrainian businesses, homes, and people. This is the real face of Russian peace, not Putin's smiles on the red carpet. And it seems like that's a fair statement. Lviv was attacked by cruise missiles with cluster warheads and strike drones. In the prosecutor's office, 3 rockets were shot down, as well as a death and 3 injuries. Private houses, offices, administrative buildings, vehicles were damaged. Now, in this video on Tuesday morning, I talked with Johnny Pierce, and I showed you how the day before Okay, Monday was the summit in Washington. Monday night, Johnny Pierce and Greg Terry and I were doing this interview, or this like kind of comparing notes about what was happening. And then so Tuesday morning, I showed you this. Here's Johnny making the case that, well, maybe there's not, they don't have the capacity. And I was saying, well, no, they have the capacity for such and such. This is not to give them a black eye. This is to say, well, I'll show you what to say in a second.
For the last 2 weeks, when they can produce up to 150 or so.
I don't think they can. So
well,
I
okay, I know that they hit the I know that they hit the factory. I get that, but even before they hit the,
I know this is weird watching me talk about watching me talk about watching me. I mean, I know that's something strange, but just bear with me. I'm getting somewhere.
Factory, they were slowing down how much they were able to do, and
so unless you see a 600 drone strike tonight, which would be,
but we just saw 600 drones, 614 drones and missiles combined to last night. I mean, it was 2 days later, but yes,
the perfect night for them to do that. Then absolutely Russia's supply chain has been hit, and I'm pretty sure it has been hit because I keep a close eye on the stats.
That's a fair point. I'm gonna tell my audience that tomorrow, what you just said, because I think that that's
Prof,
a fair...
your audience is listening right now. You're live.
No, I know I'm live. I'm saying tomorrow morning, those who are not watching this, most of my viewers don't watch live streams like your viewers do. Like my viewers like the 10-minute short little something, be quiet after 15 minutes kind of thing. So I'm not expecting everybody, but I'm going to tell them tomorrow what you just said. I think you're right that if they have a big strike tonight, they still have that production, and if they don't, that may be indicative of that their production ability has been hindered.
Yep, I think that's right. I think Johnny Pierce was right. Good job, Johnny. If they can only put out 200 and something and then 100 something the night before, they just don't have the 150 ability anymore. Maybe they're down to the 60 or so that they were at before that. So good job, Johnny Pierce. He's right. I can admit that I'm wrong. That's fine. Okay. So I admitted that I'm wrong, and now I might still be wrong. And that doesn't mean that Johnny's wrong either. I'm trying to make sense of what's going on. Like, okay, so it could just be that they only had enough to save up for a rainy day for this, and they're still at lower ebbs. I'm not showing that to show you that, well, see, Johnny was wrong. I don't know that they can continue to do 600 a day and 600 a day and 600 a day like that. Maybe this was a one-time save up. We just don't know. And this is what's maddening about this. It's like the fog of war. We just can't necessarily tell. Now, what are the Ukrainians doing to the Russians overnight? Okay, fiery night across Russia, occupied Crimea. A power facility was hit in Voronezh, leaving facilities in the dark. Explosions rocked Sevastopol near Russian Navy base. Drones struck an oil refinery in Rostov. Rail infrastructure was hit near Jankoy. Okay, so lots of things were going on. This is a situation we have this morning. All smoke is coming from the oil refinery, Russia's Rostov region last night. That's important. Traction substation was struck near Zarufka, Voronezh region of the, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but Zarufka Meloranovo rail line built to bypass Ukraine. Voronezh is a key hub of Russia's southeast railway. Now, this fire in Rostov represents 2 to 3% of Russia's total refining capacity. Well, that's going to add up time after time after time after time that it's hit. So Ben Hodges is making the case that I've been making for I don't know how long now. Russia's vastness was its historic strength. Now it's its vulnerability. Russian air defense cannot protect all of its oil and gas infrastructure against Ukraine's increasingly effective long-range precision. How am I mispronouncing precision? Precision strikes. Okay. Ukraine's drones shut down 13.5% of Russia's oil refining. Triggers price crisis and shortage. I don't know where Anna is getting this 13.5% figure from, but let's say that it is 13.5%. And we know that they've hit about 25% of Russia's capacity, but didn't destroy all of it. So let's say 13.5%. That accounts for some of the long lines that we're seeing queuing up now. Okay. Meanwhile, on top of that, Ukraine is just crazy innovative. Here's a Ukrainian heavy bomber drone armed with a 155 millimeter artillery shell. And they're going to be far more precise with this than they would just shooting it from a barrel from 155 millimeter I don't know, launcher. I'm not sure what the term is. My 2 years Army ROTC have failed me here. Okay. 830 Russians off the battlefield, 1 tank, 5 armored fighting vehicles, 41 artillery systems, and artillery system. That's what I was looking for right here, with shot out of the artillery system. Okay. 114 vehicles and fuel tanks. Second largest overnight attacks of the war. Air defenses on high alert, 94%. Okay. So here, this is kind of interesting as well. Thanks to the coordinated efforts of Ukraine's 5th Separate Heavy Mechanized Brigade, the village of Tolstoy, Donetsk region has been retaken and brought back under Ukrainian control. And up across direction, Russian invaders conducted only 36 assaults. That's pretty low, but it's also low relative, like it's relative to the number of casualties on the battlefield, which was also low. Overnight, the daily events in Russia's invasion of Ukraine after yet another airstrike in the Kursk region, it said that the command of Russia's 155th Brigade is again eliminated. They're having a rough time. I mean, okay, so the 155th was also involved in Bucha, if I have my facts straight. There's that. Maybe they're cursed after that. 155th Brigade is the command post was again eliminated, according to this. 2 Ukrainian interceptor drones, 1 catch, and a spectacular video. Like, this was really fascinating to watch. Let's look at this. So you're seeing one watch the other attack this reconnaissance drone. So you're seeing one going real close to it, and then you're going to see a view of it. There it is, going at it, and boom, there's the boom of the reconnaissance drone. No people were hurt. This is just reconnaissance drones hitting drones. Okay, but wow, how about that? Central Asians are being recruited by Russia through threats, and incentives to bolster its military forces in Ukraine. Putin is being very careful not to cause a green or whatever color revolution in his own country by how he's recruiting. He could go to full mobilization, but that makes it dangerous for him. And the recruiting, while this kind of thing is happening, this is fascinating. Russian servicemen of the 83rd Brigade shot themselves to receive compensation for their injuries. According to the Russian investigation, more than 30 servicemen from the 83rd Brigade illegally received more than 200 million rubles, or 2.5 million US dollars. They were also awarded the Order of Courage and the Medal of Bravery for their injuries. The brigade commander himself also took part in the scheme. About that. So he's in jail now for that. They figured this out. Yeah, this is how Russians, I mean, the extent of Russian corruption here. Brigade Commander Frolov had his own soldiers shoot him on at least 4 occasions, aiming so as to not hit vital organs. His call sign is, ironically, Executioner. How about that? Okay. This attack took place near Kindivka, east of Kherson, the same area where we geolocated Russian helicopter strike yesterday. The victim was simply repairing a damaged roof when he's targeted by a drone. A drone is attacking a civilian trying to, fix his damaged roof that the Russians caused. It's insane. Kailan put this out. It's the same thing. It's hard to watch these videos, but it's important for the world to see the reality in Kherson. Today, Russians dropped a bomb on a civilian fixing his roof. This happens constantly while Putin pretends to want peace. This is what Russia continues to do unless it's stopped. This is called a war crime. He's not a combatant. He's just trying to fix his roof that you damaged. Unbelievable. Darth Putin wrote this, day 1275 of my 3-day war. The Russia I inherited was a gas station. Remember, McCain said famously, Russia is a gas station masquerading as a nation state? A gas station with nukes. Now it doesn't even have gas. I remain a master strategist. Yep, these are the fuel lines, or the lines queued up to purchase gasoline or diesel. All right. I saw this and I thought, well, this is interesting. I imagine there'll be a lot of these tractors like this after the war. And here's a tank out in the field, pulling a whatever it is that digs up the ground for like farmers do. Pretty inventive. Yeah, how about that? All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine. Oh, hey, by the way, I have one last question. If you're watching on a computer, somebody commented that if they're watching on their phone, they can add comments. If they're watching on the computer, they can't. Is this an isolated incident, or is that the case with you? If you're watching on a computer, can you see if you can leave comments and let me know? Like, I know you might have to go to your phone to do that afterwards if you can't, but I'd really appreciate it because I want to make sure. So I am trying to read the comments and I am listening, and I want to make sure that you can communicate as well. Thank you again, and thank you for caring about Ukraine.